common word problems that you will come across is the percent word problem. Let's take a look at first how to solve for percentages, and then we'll see how we can apply that to word problems themselves. So the easiest thing to do for word problems is use a very common equation that's easy to remember and we can apply to a lot of different things. And this consists of an actual fraction equal to a fraction. Let me explain. So we have two fractions equal to each other. In the first one, we're going to compare the part to the whole. And in the second one, we're going to compare the percent to 100. This might not make any sense yet, but bear with me, I'll explain how this works. So the first question we're going to have is, what is 20% of 40? We're just solving for percentages now, okay? So we want to know 20% of 40. 40 is the whole. The 20 is the percent. So let's plug it into our equation. We don't know what the part is. That is what the question is asking us for. But we do know the percentage and we do know the whole. So 20% is what we're looking for, and the whole is 40. Because we don't know the part, we're going to call it x. And 100 will always go down here no matter what. Whenever we have two equations or two fractions that are equal to each other with that equal sign in between, we can always cross multiply. Cross multiply means we take this one and we multiply it to the one that's across from it. We go across the equation, across the fraction. So x times 100 is 100x. And 40 times 20 is 800. Now that we have done that, the next step is to isolate the x. Whenever we want to solve for an unknown variable, we need to isolate it by doing the opposite of whatever is going on with it. So here, this x is multiplied to 100. If it's multiplied to 100, we must do the opposite, so we're going to divide by 100. And if we do something to one side of the equal sign, we always do it to the other side of the equal sign to make sure it's even. So this cancels out because 100 divided by 100 is 1, so we're left with just x. And 800 divided by 100 is 8. So now we know that 20% of 40 is 8. Let's look at other ways we can use this equation to solve percent word problems. Sometimes the question will not ask for the part, but it'll ask for the actual percent itself. What we do is we identify the givens, plug it into our equation, and then solve for the percentage. Let's take a look at what that can look like. So the question is, what percent is 25 of 75? 25 here is our part. 75 is the whole, and we are looking for the percent. So we can plug in all of these givens into our equation. Our equation, remember, is part over whole equals percent over 100. So, do we know the part? Yes, we know that the part is 25. Our whole is 75. And 100 always goes down here. In this situation, what we're missing is the percentage. So we're going to call that x because it is our unknown. Now, whenever we have two fractions equal to each other, we can cross multiply. So let's do that. 25 times 100 is 2,500. And 75 times x is 75x. Because the x is multiplied to the 75 and we want to isolate the x, we're going to go ahead and divide it. Whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we do to the other side of the equal sign. So this cancels out and becomes x. 2,500 divided by 75 needs to be worked out. So 75 goes into 250 3 times. and equals 225. Let's go ahead and subtract that. We can bring down the 0. 75 goes into 250 again, 3 times. We can subtract that, and if you'll notice, it keeps repeating itself. So we know that 25 is 33% of 75. So let's take a look at another question that also looks for percentages. The question is, what percent is 30 of 120? Well, here the 30 is the part, the 120 is the whole, and once again we're looking for the percent. Let's plug that into our equation and see how it works. So like I said, the 30 is the part, 120 is the whole, and 100 always goes down here. Because we're looking for the percent, we're going to place a variable where the percentage would normally go. And like I told you before, when we have two fractions that are equal to each other, we can cross multiply them. So 30 times 100 is 3,000. And 120 times x is 120x. Now, we see here that we have a variable that's unknown and we have to isolate it to be able to solve for it. It is multiplied to the 120. Because it's multiplied to the 120, we do the opposite and we divide so we can solve for it. $120 divided by 120 gives us 1. 300 divided by 3,000 divided by 120 is a little bit different. So we can eliminate a 0 from the top and the bottom so we can use smaller numbers and it's easier to work with. So let's do 300 divided by 12. So 12 goes into 30 2 times. 12 times 2 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. We bring down the 0. 12 goes into 60 5 times. 12 times 5 is 60. 60 minus 60 is 0, so that means this divides perfectly. Our x is 25. Now, let's go back to the question. What was it asking for? It was asking for a percent. So this is 25%. Okay, how are we doing? I hope you're keeping up. Let's take a look at one more way that we can use this equation to help us solve for percent word problems. So sometimes it'll give us a percent, and sometimes it'll give us the part, and then it won't give us the whole. So let's take a look at what that kind of question looks like. So the question is, 44 is 12% of what number? In this question, 44 is the part, 12 is the percent, and we are looking for the whole. Let's go ahead and plug that into our equation and see how it works out. So, like I told you, 44 is our part. We know our percent is 12. We don't know our whole, but we do know that 100 always goes down here. So like I've told you before, whenever we have two fractions that are equal to each other, we can cross multiply them. So let's go ahead and do that. So x times 12 is 12x. And 44 times 100 is 4,400. So let's go ahead and divide by 12 so that we can isolate the x. Let's go ahead and divide by 12 to be able to isolate it. When we do that, this cancels out and equals 1, and now we have to work out 4,400 divided by 12. So 12 goes into 4,400. 12 goes into 44 3 times. 12 times 3 is 36. 44 minus 36 is 8. Now we can bring down a 0. 12 goes into 80 6 times. 12 times 6 is 72. 80 minus 72 is 8. Let's bring down another one. 12 goes into 80 6 times once again. 12 times 6 is 72. 80 minus 72 is 8. We can see that this is a repeating question. We can see that this is a repeating number, so we can go ahead and stop here. That means that 366 is the whole. 44 is 12% of 366. Stay tuned for our other video that goes into detail on how to do percent word problems. If you like daily questions, join us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you'd like to know more about our free ASVAB events, text @ASVAB free to 81010. Good luck as you study for the ASVAB.